Chapter 1, The Hook, Why Porn Hits Harder Than Drugs. Men, there's a war going on not outside of you, but inside your own skull. It's silent, invisible, but it's hijacking your mind every single day. A war fought not with bullets or bombs, but with dopamine, the chemical of desire, the spark that makes you chase, hunt, and build. But today, it's being used against you. They call it pleasure. They call it harmless. But what's harmless can still be weaponized. Every man alive has felt the pull, that quick hit of novelty, the instant rush of excitement. It feels good for a moment, but it leaves you emptier than before, because your brain doesn't know the difference between a pixel and a person, between fantasy and real reward. You see, your brain was designed for pursuit, to chase, to conquer, to create. When a man works toward a goal, a vision, his dopamine rises slowly, steadily. It fuels the journey, it rewards the process. But porn bypasses that process. It floods your brain with dopamine instantly, a false sense of achievement, a counterfeit reward. And every time you repeat it, your brain rewires itself to crave shortcuts instead of conquest. That's why this battle is dangerous, because it doesn't just steal your time, it steals your drive. It replaces real discipline with digital pleasure. And slowly you stop fighting. You stop building. You stop leading. You begin to live on autopilot, chasing the next hit, the next high, the next escape. Psychologists call it a supernormal stimulus. It means something that overstimulates your senses beyond what's natural. So powerful, it rewires your reward system. Rats in a lab will press a dopamine button until they collapse from exhaustion. Men do the same thing, only their button glows on a screen. It's the same neural pathway as cocaine. The same hit, the same craving, the same crash. Except this one is legal and free, and always in your pocket. But here's the truth most men never hear. What you think is pleasure is actually programming. Every click, every scroll, every release teaches your brain to chase comfort and avoid challenge. And when comfort becomes your god, discipline dies. The Bible says in Proverbs 25:28, a man without self-control is like a city broken into and left without walls. Think about that. A city without walls. No defense. No discipline. Any temptation can walk right in and rule you. That's what happens to men who can't guard their minds. They lose their walls, and the enemy doesn't need force, just distraction. You don't have to be evil to be enslaved. You just have to be distracted. And that's what porn does. It distracts a generation of men from their mission. It takes the builder and turns him into a beggar. It takes the lion and turns him into a lamb. It takes a man of purpose and turns him into a man of impulse. But it's not too late, because awareness is the first weapon in this war. When you understand how the hook works, you can break it. You see the pattern, you catch the craving, you interrupt the loop, and slowly your brain starts to heal. Your dopamine resets, your focus sharpens, your hunger for life returns. That's when you start becoming dangerous again. Men, God did not design you to be slaves to your impulses. He made you in His image, with strength, order, and purpose. And when you master your mind, you return to that design. That's when clarity comes back, energy comes back, faith returns, because pleasure without purpose is poison. So remember this. Every moment you resist the urge, you rebuild your brain. Every time you say no to weakness, you say yes to your calling. You are not meant to be entertained. You are meant to be empowered. Men, this is your mind. This is your fight. And in this war, the first victory is awareness. Chapter 2, The Loop, the Trap of Fantasy. Every habit begins with a loop. A trigger, a craving, an action, a reward. Repeat. The mind loves loops, they save energy. But some loops don't free you, they bind you. Fantasy is one of those loops. It promises control, but delivers captivity. Because every time you escape into fantasy, you tell your brain, reality isn't enough. And the brain listens. It begins to crave stimulation over substance. Imagination becomes the drug. Reality becomes dull. The loop starts simple. Stress hits till you crave comfort, till you open the door to escape, till you feel the rush, to the shame follows, and the cycle resets. It's a perfect trap, one you build yourself with your own habits, your own clicks, your own silence. Psychologists call this the reward prediction error. Your brain predicts the next hit will feel better than the last, so it keeps chasing, even though satisfaction never comes. The more you feed it, the less it rewards you. That's why your highs fade and your lows grow deeper. The loop keeps you chasing ghosts. Men were never designed to live in constant fantasy. God created man to face life, not flee it. To build, protect, and lead. When fantasy becomes your refuge, reality becomes your prison. You stop building, you start escaping. You stop chasing purpose, you chase pixels of imagination. The loop steals something subtle, your ability to feel. When dopamine fires too often, your receptors numb. Joy dulls, motivation drops. Even small wins stop feeling good. That's why men today feel lost. They've burnt out their reward system on illusions. They crave constant intensity, and ordinary life feels empty. But God didn't call you to live in fantasy. He called you to rule over it. Romans 12:2 says, "Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." Renewing means rewiring. Transformation begins where repetition ends. You can't break the loop by willpower alone. You must replace it. Replace fantasy with focus. Replace craving with creation. Replace escape with endurance. Every time you feel the urge, build instead of binge. Write, pray, train, work. Each act of creation rewires your brain towards strength. The loop isn't just chemical, it's spiritual. The enemy doesn't need to destroy you if he can distract you. He doesn't have to chain your hands. He just needs to occupy your imagination. But when you see the loop, you can step out of it. Awareness breaks hypnosis. Purpose breaks addiction. Faith breaks fantasy. Every time you choose reality over fantasy, you reclaim a piece of your soul. Each small victory rewires the brain toward discipline, not desire. You are not a passenger in this loop. You are the driver. And when you take back the wheel, the loop ends. Chapter 3. The Illusion of Freedom. Men, they told you freedom meant doing whatever you want. But look around. Most men today can't even go a single day without reaching for a screen. That's not freedom. That's bondage disguised as choice. We grew up believing liberty meant no limits, no rules, no restraint. But real freedom isn't the absence of limits. It's the presence of discipline. Without control, every freedom becomes a cage. The world says, indulge, you deserve it. God says, resist, you were made for more. When a man gives in to every craving, he's not free. He's enslaved to his impulses. He doesn't lead his life, his urges lead him. The illusion is subtle. You choose the pleasure, but the pleasure ends up choosing you. Every click tells your brain that surrender equals safety. And slowly, you lose the ability to choose anything else. It's the same trap that caught Samson, a man blessed with power, strength, and purpose, until he traded his calling for comfort. He thought he was in control, until his eyes were taken. Lust blinded him long before the Philistines ever did. And that's the danger. You think you're steering the ship, but the storm is steering you. Psychologists call it perceived control. Your mind believes it's deciding freely, when in reality, it's obeying patterns written by repetition. The same neural pathways fire again and again, until choice becomes reflex. Freedom fades not because it's stolen, but because it's surrendered, one small compromise at a time. But here's the truth men forget. Obedience and freedom are not enemies, they're brothers. The man who obeys purpose gains strength. The man who obeys pleasure loses it. Scripture says in John 8:34, whoever commits sin is a slave to sin. And in 2 Corinthians 3:17, where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. Freedom is not found in rebellion. It's found in alignment. You were never meant to be ruled by cravings. You were meant to rule over them. When you say no to the flesh, you say yes to your future. Every moment of resistance builds the muscle of mastery. Every act of self-control widens the gap between you and bondage. That's where true power lives, in the space between temptation and action. Freedom isn't found in doing what you want. It's found in doing what's right, even when you don't want to. That's what separates men from boys, warriors from wanderers, leaders from followers. So ask yourself, brother, are you living free, or just freely enslaved? Because the moment you can't say no, you've already lost your yes. Chapter 4. Breaking the Cycle. Every addiction lives in a circle. Triggers you to craving, to action, to relief, to shame, and triggers again. A closed loop. A prison without bars. You don't need to hate yourself to stay trapped. You only need to repeat what's familiar. The first step out of the loop isn't force, it's awareness. You can't conquer what you refuse to confront. You must learn to see your pattern like a soldier, studying the enemy's movements. Write it down. When are you weakest? What triggers the craving? What emotion comes right before the fall? That's your battlefield. Once you can see the loop, you can break it. Not by shame, but by replacement. The brain hates a vacuum. You can't delete a habit, you must replace it. When the urge comes, don't just sit there and fight it in silence. Move, pray, breathe, train. Action rewires impulse. Motion breaks emotion. Scientists call this neuroplasticity. It means your brain can change, literally reshape its wiring through repetition. Every time you resist the loop, you create a new pathway. Every moment of self-control becomes a physical change inside your mind. Discipline isn't just moral, it's biological. But willpower alone fades. That's why you need structure. Morning rituals, prayer times. Training blocks, digital limits. Freedom is born inside boundaries. Build a wall around your focus. Guard your eyes like you'd guard a fortress. Because the enemy doesn't storm the gate. He whispers through the window. 1 Corinthians 9:27 says, I discipline my body and keep it under control. Paul understood the psychology of mastery. The body must serve the mission, not rule it. Every no you speak to temptation strengthens the yes to your purpose. Breaking the cycle means trading comfort for calling. It means facing pain without running, feeling boredom without reaching, and choosing progress over pleasure. Pain isn't punishment, it's preparation. When you sit in discomfort and don't escape, you grow. That's how steel hardens: fire, pressure, and time. Practical steps. Cut the triggers, filters, schedule, sleep. Build replacement habits: reading, workouts, prayer. Stay accountable. Brotherhood beats isolation. Track progress. The brain needs proof of growth. Forgive yourself when you fall. Guilt feeds the loop. Grace breaks it. You're not trying to be perfect. You're learning to be consistent. Even one day of victory sends a signal to your brain. The old path is dying. Each sunrise is another chance to rewire. Each disciplined act is a nail in the coffin of your old self. Men, you don't need to fight harder, you need to fight smarter. Understand the loop. Replace the habit. Build the structure. And walk in grace, not guilt. Because the goal isn't perfection, it's progress under purpose. Chapter 5, The Warrior's Mind. Every man must walk through a battlefield that no one else can see. It's not out there, it's in here. The weak man loses this war long before he ever lifts a sword. He falls to doubt, to lust, to fear. But the warrior, he knows his enemy, and he knows himself. The world wants to make you soft. It wants you distracted. It wants your attention on screens, not your mission. Your heart numb, your focus scattered, your soul asleep. But the warrior's mind cannot be hijacked. He trains his thoughts like soldiers, disciplined, alert, loyal to his command. He guards his mind as he would a fortress gate. No weakness enters unchallenged. Every morning, the warrior wakes and renews his vow. To think with clarity, to act with courage, to conquer himself before he conquers the world. The battlefield of the mind is where kings are made, and cowards are revealed. If you lose up here, you lose everywhere. So train your mind to endure pain, to embrace boredom, to silence the noise, because the world doesn't need more men who feel. It needs more men who think, men who can hold the line when chaos surrounds them. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Romans 12:2. Remember this, warrior. Before any victory is won on the battlefield, it must first be won in the mind.
Why porn hits harder than drugs to the warrior's mind. It was only the beginning. You've awakened your discipline, your focus, and your fire. But what comes next will forge your brotherhood. Chapter 6, The Brotherhood Code, arrives on October 28th. Subscribe, like, and prepare yourself. Because the next chapter isn't just about strength, it's about loyalty. Welcome to man's world. God created men in his own image.